seat on Monday the 3rd.
Present, I'm at the Judicial Center.
Trustee Cynthia B. Ikubi.
Here and in my office in Hagåtña, Guam.
Trustee Donna Muñoz Canata.
Present, and I'm here at my residence in Ipan, Talafofo.
Guam Bar President Jackie T. Torlano, Your Honor. She mentioned that she won't be able to make it to today's meeting.
All right. Thank you. That completes the roll call. We do have all members present, and we can duly conduct our regular monthly meeting. I know that the proof of due notice has been provided in the agenda packet, and so at this time, I first of all just like to welcome and recognize the members of the Elder Justice Center advisory group that have joined us. I just like to, and if I miss you, I apologize. We have Mayor Jesse Alec, we have Ms. Lou Sanchez, and I did see Kathy Campbell, but she may have just stepped out. And anyone else from the Elder Justice Center in the advisory group? Okay. And all the staff members, good afternoon. PJ, I have to leave if we have not completed by 1:45. I have an event that starts at 2. Just in the event that we're not able to complete, I would ask that you just can chair the meeting if you are able to stay on after the 1:45 time period. I anticipate that we'll be done, but just in case, I'd just like to give you that heads up. Apologize for the late notice.
I have no objections, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. What I'd like to do, first of all, let's go ahead and move to the item regarding the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of meeting?
Move to approve, subject to correction.
Been moved. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I'll second it, Your Honor.
All right. It's been moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, the recording secretary will pick up who has seconded the motion. And this is for the regular scheduled meeting of August 24th, 2021. Is there any objection to the motion to adopt the minutes? There being none, I will note that the minutes of the meeting are duly adopted. What I'd like to do, if there's no objection on the part of the trustee members, is under old business, I'd like to proceed down to item D and take that as the first item on our agenda. It has to do with the Elder Justice Center Update Program extension. Is there any objection to taking this item out of turn?
No objection.
No objections.
All right.
No objection.
Thank you. So with that, I will recognize Ms. Kathy Seguenza, or whoever is going to make the presentation. I note that Kat, you have your video and your video turned off. If you can turn your video on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the board members and our guests. And thank you for allowing us to continue our presentation in support of extending the Elder Justice Center. Next slide, please. Last month, we demonstrated the unquestionable need for this program with a new waitlist created in just 6 months to include nearly 600 services. Some urgent cases were bumped from this new wait list, and along with 356 services on the original wait list, they were all addressed. We also demonstrated a staggering response from the community, with support coming from the Mayor's Council by way of a resolution and individual letters of support from most of our mayors. We also received positive results from surveys from our clients. And we'd like to acknowledge President of the Guam Bar Association, Attorney Jackie Terlaje. We'll let her know that we thought of her. She was great. She reached out to us to schedule a brainstorming session with Guam Legal, Micronesian Legal, and the Office of the Public Guardian. And the plan is to determine what services each of us is providing so we can identify the gaps in which kind of cases will be sent to the Guam Bar Referral Service. So as Jackie mentioned last meeting, we don't want a situation where we're shifting our seniors from one long wait list to another. We also want to thank our advisory council member, Attorney Kathy Campbell. She sent us 2 boxes of written material, forms, and books relating to elder law. So we have started our library. At this point, the most realistic outlook is that we only have federal grant funding of $192,144 for the next year. At the last meeting, Chief Justice Carbolito reinforced that this is the reality, and we requested that we provide a plan showing what modification in operations and services may be needed due to these budgetary constraints. Next slide, please. Before zeroing in on our plan, we'd like to thank Senator Amanda Shelton for introducing Bill number 199-36 COR. This is a new bill that was introduced early in September, and it seeks $580,070 for EJC operations from Earned Income Program for fiscal year 2022. A copy of the bill is included in your packet. Again, we thank the senator for her undying support. We hope the bill will pass. We know she's been part of this program from the beginning and is aware of how much effort has gone into the program. Next slide, please. We also personally met with the governor's deputy chief of staff to reiterate the importance of the administration's support for the EJC and hope that our request for assistance under the American Rescue Plan will be granted. A copy of our letter to Deputy Tyrone is included in your packet. We did look at possible internships with the colleges as suggested by Trustee Attorney Eckerby, and unfortunately we're too late for this semester, but we're on their list for next semester. Next slide, please. So we started to think about the possibility of obtaining corporate sponsors from Guam businesses, especially those connected with the elderly. We also considered whether requests can be made for donations from others, or whether we can start thinking about fundraising events. And of course, we will continue to pursue grant possibilities. Next slide, please. But again, the reality is we only have $192,144 in federal grant money. Justice Carbolito, Chief Justice Carbolito asked that we map out scenarios of what may be accomplished should the program not receive any additional funding. Next slide, please. So to prepare our plan, I just noticed I was saying so after everyone else stopped that. To prepare our plan, we began with our estimate of what we would need to establish a law office to handle the EJC workload, which would be the foundation for this program to grow. This was our benchmark. It would require 7 employees. The total personnel costs, salary and benefits, is $612,154. We subtracted the amount of the grant, and there's a shortfall of $420,010. And this is only for personnel. Next slide, please. Then we analyzed various scenarios. In scenario A, we reduced the personnel from 7 to 3 employees, 1 attorney and 2 special projects coordinators. We fell short of adequate funding The total personnel costs for these 3 employees, less the grant, left us with a shortfall of $65,358. And again, that's just for personnel. Next slide, please. And this is the breakdown of the personnel costs for scenario A. Next slide, please. Scenario B, we further reduced the number of employees to only 2, 1 attorney and 1 special projects coordinator. And again, the grant doesn't even cover the personnel costs. We're short $15,121. Next slide, please. This is the slide showing the breakdown of salaries for scenario B. Next slide, please. After many permutations, we arrived at scenario C, which is affordable. Scenario C still requires only 2 employees, but the special projects coordinator would be willing to forego many of the fringe benefits. Under this scenario, we'd end up with a cushion of $4,417, which would be available for such things as interpreters, supplies, small equipment like a laptop, and a portable printer for house and hospital calls. Next slide, please. Here's the staffing pattern for the 2 employees under scenario C. And just please take note that in this scenario, both employees receive sick and annual leave benefits. Next slide, please. But realistically, what can we expect to offer as a law office with 2 employees? I can tell you that during this trial period, we worked extended work week hours. We pulled several all-nighters to collect data to determine what is needed for this program. And let me tell you, it's not as easy as it was in college. There were 4 of us, and while we all took this on for the good of the project, we can't expect employees to work at this pace. It's not healthy, and it will result in burnout. So let's consider realistically what 2 employees could accomplish. With 2 employees, the goal would be to address as many of the 597 new cases that we've put on our new wait list. This would be done without the assistance of a legal secretary or a legal clerk. The process requires contacting the client, registering the client in a public health database, conducting an intake, an attorney-client conference, drafting the legal documents, arranging for the client to come in and sign, witnessing signatures, notarizing signatures, closing out, and billing the file. We would even have problems with witnesses and notary. For wills and living wills, there are 2 witnesses required. With the notary, we wouldn't, even if one of us was a notary, we wouldn't have enough to conduct the signings for these documents. We wouldn't be able to accept new calls. We wouldn't be able to address urgent cases. We wouldn't be able to manage wait lists without a receptionist, a legal secretary, or a clerk. Our outreach activities would be limited only if we were able to obtain volunteers. In addition to the legal and advocacy work needed from these 2 employees, they would also be required each month to complete a grant compliance report, a monthly invoice report, and the monthly report for the board. We would seriously need to ask ourselves to think long and hard about really what could be expected of 2 employees and whether even the Department of Public Health would be interested in renewing the contract under such circumstances. Next slide, please. But there is a solution. Many of the obstacles could be eliminated if the public defender is permitted to share 2 administrative employees with the EJC to help with telephone coverage, drafting documents, acting as witnesses, and notarizing signatures. Essentially, the addition of 1 legal secretary and a legal clerk would allow the EJC to increase its services. Public defender management has stated that this can be done without adversely affecting their criminal docket. The public defender legal secretary, she's already a notary. We would have enough witnesses. The IT and the finance departments would be available to help. Any private law firm awarded this contract would have the benefit of an existing support staff. We have a ready-made office with support staff at the main office. The legal clerk, receptionist could take calls and forward them to the EJC, assist with intake, open files, and input some data and case management entries, administrative duties. The legal secretary could draft documents, schedule signings, and notarize documents. The main office is already providing these functions for the Victim Service Program, which is set up very much like the EJC. The same support is provided to the public defenders' war claims cases, to their quarantine cases, guardianship, and other civil cases. This is a practical solution to allowing the EJC to continue successfully under the current budgetary constraints. Next slide, please. Under scenario D, the personnel costs remain exactly the same as scenario C, leaving us with that $4,417 surplus. We would propose that scenario D would make far more economic sense for the government of Guam than using private counsel. In fact, with today's salaries and increased fixed and variable costs, it's probably unlikely that a private firm would be interested in a contract for $192,144 and be expected to complete at least 600 cases. Next slide, please. Before moving on, we want to also let you know that we want to be able to make an impact with this program. We hope to be able to partner with the Division of Senior Citizens and draft proposed legislation which will recognize healthcare powers of attorney, which are critical in advanced care planning. Currently, they're not expressly authorized by statute on Guam, as they are in every other state in the nation. So we would really like to work hard to make that change. We are also encountering cases where our seniors don't have an unexpired picture ID. This happens when their licenses and passports expire. Without an unexpired picture ID, the notary is not allowed to notarize the documents. We've learned to ask up front whether the senior has an unexpired license. Otherwise, we can't pursue services for that client. There has been legislation introduced in the past to provide seniors with an ID which will not expire. We would like to pursue this further and partner with the Division of Senior Citizens to provide proposed legislation to correct this problem. Means testing is prohibited by the terms of our federal grant. We're governed by the Older American Act as the federal level services that we are providing under the grant. Under the Act, legal services are open to all adults age 60 and over with the greatest economic and social need. Oftentimes, state programs which require means testing conflict with these federal requirements. And Congress has recognized this and continues to offer suggestions how to target the most vulnerable seniors. For Guam, it looks like working with the mayor's officers and the senior centers would assist us in identifying priority targets. The Victim Service Division at the PD also does not conduct means testing to determine eligibility. The idea is for seniors, they're all vulnerable. A copy of the publication prepared by the National Center for Law and Elder Rights is included in your packets. And it lists numerous activities, outreach activities to reach our seniors, which are to reach our most vulnerable seniors. Next slide, please. We hope that you see this as an opportunity, as a way to build the foundation for a meaningful, permanent program. We urge you to adopt scenario D and allow the public defender to share 2 administrative employees and to extend this program permanently to allow us to work with our advisory council. They're full of ideas and suggestions to better the program. Please recognize that any resolution adopted by the board would have to be contingent on the Division of Senior Citizens acceptance of the amended MOU to reflect any necessary modifications. There was a little bit of static, so I wanted to repeat that to make sure you got that. Any resolution adopted by the board must be contingent on the Division of Senior Citizens accepting an amended extension of the MOU. Basically, the MOU terminates on the 30th of September, and we are in the process of renegotiating that should the board allow the program to move forward. Look, of the 252 individuals named on our waitlist 1, which we inherited at the start of the project, due to delays in the program, we lost 213 to death, relocation, or services found not to be needed any longer. That means that as a result of the program being delayed, we lost almost 85% of our waitlisted clients. It will be a shame if we allow this to happen again. Because of the nature of our clients, there are time limitations, and really, every case is urgent. I understand from the elder law experts on the mainland that the recent rise in COVID cases, including reinfections, coupled with the rapidly aging population, means that the demand for legal services in this area is going to skyrocket. This is likely to also be true on Guam too, where our COVID cases and reinfection cases have been rising, and our population of senior citizens is growing as well. We thank you for your attention, and unless you have any questions, that completes our presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and I want to express my appreciation for the diligence in trying to come up with the resources to continue the program, and even under a shoestring type budget, we all recognize the value and just the contribution this will make to the community, and of course, in particular, the elderly. We recognize the importance of that. I surely do, and the fact that we're trying to come up with the resources to support the program in a viable way. And I just want to commend you and the staff and advisory members of trying to think outside the box, making every effort that this program is able to function in a meaningful way. And so with that, I open up the floor to any of the trustees if they have any questions, first of all, as to the presentation and just the proposal that is being put forward. And I assume the representation, and we have Steve Hattori and Kathy Gogui who are participating, that any sharing of resources will not compromise the duties and responsibilities of the Public Defender Service Corporation in providing indigent defense to the clientele of the Public Defender Service Corporation. Is that correct, Steve?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Chief Justice. And, what we want to do is have that legal secretary detailed also do the protective orders and our civil stuff. And somewhere down the road, we can actually put them at the other side of the wall. And it's going to greatly reduce the number of conflicts in our criminal matter. So in the long run, this is really going to save the court money in court appointed fees. And so that's the eventual goal. And this is just a tiny step towards that goal. We have really hardworking staff. They're willing to assume extra work because they do understand that this is our statutory duty, and they want to help us fulfill our mission. So yeah, we definitely are able to help the EJC out in this manner.
All right, thank you for that, Steve. So are there any questions, comments on the part of the board members for Kathy Seguenza?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Kathy for such a very good presentation. I think you took the common sense approach. I think since this is a new program, I think you were not overly ambitious like some programs when they first start out. I think that you're very cautious, which is good. And you took into account, one, the number of clients that will be serviced. Secondly, you were sensitive to the financial needs of the government, which is commendable. Because sometimes when people start new programs, they don't take that into account. And I think for at least the beginning, I think your suggestion or recommendation to do proposal D, I think is a very good first step in initiating the permanency of this program. The only thing you should have gotten to your program is how many, like I'm always into numbers. How many people have you been served? I know you said that 230 some of your clients have passed away or moved, but I'd like to know how many clients do you have now that you are servicing at least on the average? Do you know of that?
Yes, Your Honor. We open 44 cases a month. We have we've completed 356 cases. It looks like we have about 160 pending cases. And the goal is by the end of September, we're going to have finished everything that we started. And then we will start looking at our wait list 2. And if you remember, now waitlist, so basically think of it this way. We've finished about 400 cases. Under the 2 new cases, we have about 600 more. So remember, 85% of those cases on waitlist 1 passed, we lost. So it's going to take us, for the next 600, we're going to have to, there'll be full-blown cases. So the caseload, Judge, has been crazy.
Now, what is it? Did you base it on the complexity of the case, like a simple power of attorney as opposed to a TRO, a restraining order?
Yeah.
Is there? Can you,
Judge, it's not actually the legal work that's time-consuming. This program is very heavily requires administrative work. You have to fill out certain forms for public health before the client can be addressed. You have to make sure that the clients are input in the data banks. There's a lot of administrative work. And seniors take a long time, whether it's a simple matter or not. I think that they just like someone to talk to, because our goal, and under the board's directive, unless the case is very straightforward and very simple, it's referred out.
Well, maybe I'd suggest maybe in the future, like we do in many of our treatment courts, we have mentors that assist participants. Maybe have maybe senior volunteers that are willing to help you interview clients. That will probably alleviate some of the work
Okay.
from you. And I think there are a lot of seniors that are willing to volunteer and help other people to do these applications. And I think maybe you could solicit maybe some volunteers out there, because I know that when you go to ask for Medicare, questions, a lot of those people are volunteers. They're there to answer any questions. Maybe you can consider that route too. Like, you just mentioned, many of the seniors just like to talk to somebody. And maybe a mentor or a volunteer will be able to provide that service. And it gives maybe a lot of retirees something to do as well. And it doesn't tie them down. They can leave anytime they want. They can, if they want to go on a trip or do something else, they can leave. So it's flexible for them to consider. So I like to maybe just consider that. Maybe ask for volunteers, people that are willing to help you out. Do the simple interviewing.
Yep,
But
yep.
to correlate that instead of having staff do it, they can do more important things that would expedite the process.
Your Honor, that's great. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but I must tell you that I was retired for several years and did get a little bored and was only intrigued by one thing, and that was to become a volunteer for that Medicare program that you're speaking of. And so I enrolled in the program, I took the courses, and then COVID hit. And look at how life turns out. Here I am at the Elder Justice Center in the Division of Senior Citizens, which is right next door to that Medicare volunteer's office. So meant to be.
So you do have some experience in it. Maybe you can use that experience in implementing a similar program for your for the elderly legal assistance program. Basically just to do intake and all that. Just like you mentioned, most of the delays are the administrative parts. And so you can use these volunteers. And, many of these volunteers, they know most of the people walking in. So they just talk. And they can spend 2 hours filling out an application. As long as they fill it out, that's okay with you. So maybe you can consider that, since you've gone through that already and you know that it helps out a lot, I'd like to know, Steve, what type of support do you intend to provide? You work support
So really with just a legal secretary that will also be detailed to handle the victim service unit, protective orders, and the guardianships. And so and we have staff that are willing to do that. And as far as a legal clerk, I know that we do have some unopened legal clerk positions. So it's just a matter of filling it and detailing someone to assist the Outer Justice Center. We're hoping they can just do it from our office and then refer them over to EJC. So because the EJC is a pretty cramped quarters, and they can do their primary duties as well as the secondary duties of helping the EJC. We anticipate them doing a limited intake just to get information about income, about how to contact them, and all the legal intake will be conducted by an EJC employee who's at the other side of the wall. So it's kind of like, how they have those firms that share a receptionist or legal secretary, a receptionist and a front work. That's how we would run it. So they won't actually be privy to the legal information or legal documents that would make it result in a conflict.
Maybe, I think GCC and UOG have these paralegal programs. Maybe you can have interns coming in and drafting some of these forms for you with the overseeing of an attorney. Like these guardianship, that's not very difficult to fill out, or power of attorney, etc. As long as there's an attorney overseeing or supervising their work. So maybe you can work closely with, talk to Dr. Okada or Dr. Price. Maybe you can get some interns, and they could probably get college credit for that. in assisting this program so that, we can use all the free resources that are available out there. So to get this program off the ground. So I think we can get mentors through volunteers, like they do with the Medicare program, to help out and helping out those people that need assistance in filling out their forms. Maybe paralegals at UOG and GCC, or people that are pre-law. It'd be good experience for them. Maybe they can get 1 credit as a what do they call it, a practical course or whatever they call it, what they call it now, where they can get 1 or 2 credits, doing a practicum and helping out, your program. So, those are my suggestions.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And Will Jones is an instructor for the paralegal program, so we could have him have some of his students help out. So that's a great idea.
And maybe talk to Dr. Okada and the board. Maybe you could make it a college credit. If they, maybe for 1 semester, get 1 or 2 credits for assisting the program, of course, under the supervision of your attorney, the attorney.
Oh, no, yeah, that would be
Well,
great.
that would be free labor, for you. You won't have to hire anybody. You can just use, and I'm sure many people will like the practical experience, and then they also get college credit for it. So maybe you could talk with Dr. Okada. She's very flexible as far as, meeting the needs of her students and serving the community. So I'm sure she'll be very receptive to that suggestion. So I hope that you can, maybe Kathy, since you're the coordinator of the program, you can contact Dr. Okada and whoever. I think is Pete Roberto's still there. Also contact him as well. I'm sure that they would assist you in providing that type of assistance.
Thank
Thanks a
you,
lot.
PJ.
We'll definitely do that.
Thank you, PJ, for that input and comments. Are there any other comments from any of the other board members before we decide what action we're going to take in reference to this matter?
Your Honor, this is Trustee QB.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, QB.
And Kathy, I just want to echo both the Chief Justice and the presiding judge with a great job in setting out a want wish, a wish, want wish, and necessary wish for this program. It looks like you've outlined it. And I'm looking at the different scenarios, specifically scenario E and D. And I just want to confirm, and perhaps maybe our executive director can confirm this, but in scenario D, it was discussed about the legal secretary, additional support from BDSC, and then the legal clerk, additional support from PDSC, in addition to the comments provided by the RPJ in terms of additional help. So the 4,417 is what's outstanding that would need to be funded under this program. Now, with regards to the secretaries and the clerk, the additional support, there will be no funding. That would be just funded then from PDSC, and maybe you and or Steve can confirm that. That would just be separate funding that, as Steve pointed out, they will just use their other resources to help with you folks with some of the logistical issues that you've already pointed out is really the significant part of this program. Am I to understand that?
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you, Trustee QB. I think that
Yeah.
there's a little misunderstanding here. The 4,000 isn't short. That's extra.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So there's no
That's-
shortage.
I think
Okay.
it was black.
That's
Yeah.
black. That's black.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you for, I'm elderly now, so I gotta wear my glasses too. So thank you for confirming that.
That's a good
So,
excuse.
yeah, so no funds actually will be allocated for PDSC. And I think, the concern that the Chief Judge pointed out, I mean, it looks great. And I mirror the Chief Justice's concern is that there be a wall or separation of the personnel in this, just to avoid any conflict issues. And so I just wanted to confirm that there will be no funding allocated from your program to assist with the support, the additional support that will come from PDSC. And I think you've answered that question.
Just to clarify, that's correct. We'll use existing personnel. And,
Right.
you know, this will really just be for 1 year, because then when we submit our budget request for FY 2023, then we'll try to include a separate budget for the EJC, much like, you know, the court does with Erica's house or one of the other line items.
Yes, and you have Senator Amanda, who has taken a strong interest and can assist the PDSC in this regard. Any questions from you, Donna, or comments that you would like to share?
Sorry, sir. I'm okay. I'm leaning to just go with what Miss Kathy Seguenza suggested, and it just saddens me that we have to keep going through this when this program is just so much needed. And whether we get our funds from the legislature or from the federal government or from wherever, we've got to keep finding ways to try to make sure that this program stays alive. So, I mean, that's all I have to say. And Kat, thank you for all of you. Thank you for doing a great job.
Thank you, Donna. So can you put up again scenario D? I don't see it in my share screen. Just so that when we entertain a motion, we have this in front of us. Okay, that is just not going to work for me. Let me see what we did here. Okay, I'm sorry, that just kind of blocked out that stuff. And okay, here, let me move it. Okay, let's take that back down, Kathy. That just kind of blocked everything in front of me for some reason. So what I'd like to do now is to entertain two ways to proceed. Number one, we don't have a resolution with the proper recitals and the proposed action in a resolution form, and we can entertain that at the next board meeting and ratify the action of the board. So we have a proper document that we reference, number one, for purposes of working with our stakeholders in trying to obtain the continuing support. So what I'd like to do is entertain a motion to adopt the Elder Justice Center as a permanent division of the Public Defender Service Corporation, subject to the availability of funds. And for the fiscal year 2021-2022, it would be at the funding level of the federal funds that have been identified, subject to it being renewed for the coming fiscal year. And to the extent that we are able to obtain any additional funding, then that will go towards the expansion of a permanent division of the Public Defender Service Corporation in terms of the Elder Justice Center. But at least it moves forward from a pilot program. It's in the infancy stages of trying to establish it as a division of the public defender. And we will look to our policymakers to continue to assist in the permanency of the program. Everyone on this virtual screen recognizes the importance and the value of the program, but we don't have the control of the resources, additional resources that will support it at the level that is being requested. And so at this point, I will entertain a motion to adopt the Elder Justice Center program as a division of the Public Defender Service Corporation, and to be funded in accordance with the federal funds that have been identified, and the staff sharing staff with the Public Defender Service Corporation as proposed. And that will be properly laid out in a resolution that we can act on at the next board meeting. Do we have a
Motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. I just like
And I'll
to make an additional motion on that, Mr. Chairman.
yes, please?
Since Kathy says that they're in the black of 4,417, can we have her use that to buy office supplies or something that she may need in the future?
Yeah.
Because this is a very paper intensive program. And so she may
I
need
agree.
$400 to buy extraneous things that she may need to implement it, huh? Like office supplies, etc.
Yeah, there is no intention to limit the discretion of the
I agree.
to utilize the funding from the federal funds outside of personnel, and that can be used in the discretion of the our attorney that's in charge of this program. And so that will go along. That would be consistent with the intent of the motion that I would like for us to consider, and to authorize the use of the Public Defender Service Corporation staff as being proposed. And we can lay this all out. And John, I would ask you to lay this all out so we can properly document the action of the board in the next board meeting in a properly worded resolution.
That's understood.
So I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. I move
And
permanently to
And-
adopt scenario D, and any excess of the 4,417 to be used at the discretion of the coordinator, the program coordinator, or the attorney responsible. Did I miss anything? That's it, right? The three?
Correct.
That's my motion.
All right.
second,
That's been seconded by Trustee Donna Kanata. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. So it's been unanimously adopted. All right, Kathy, that's you have your job cut out for you to continue to grow the program, but you have the support of the trustees, and we'll continue to do our part in trying to support the program.
Thank you, Your Honor. Very much appreciated.
Okay, so let's move on in reference to the agenda. And the next item is item E under old business. Mr. Hattori, are you prepared to present on the BGA Sixth Amendment Initiative?
So, Your Honor, we had previously submitted all the different reports that was generated during that period. And I was actually going to try to defer this to October so that, because I figured the Elder Justice Center would take a lot more time.
Is there any
So-
objection to deferring this item to the October meeting?
No objection.
Done.
Okay, before we leave this and go back to under old business, is there any comments that the advisory members, Lou Sanchez, Kathy Campbell, and who else did I miss? That anyone would like to say anything in reference to the Elder Justice Center?
No comment from me. No comment.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Kathy, do you have anything for all the way there from California? You're muted, Kathy.
I thank you for asking, but I think this is a good start, and everything good starts from nothing. So here we go. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for your continuing interest and support. We very much appreciate you participating and that you are making yourself available as a resource for this important endeavor on the part of the Elder Justice Center. So with that, thank you. With that, I'm going to go back under old business, under the financial status update, and I will recognize Mr. Moreno to give your report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, board members. We have just received our second allotment in September. We are anticipating one more allotment to complete the fiscal 2021 appropriations. We are at present 96%, both Public Defender Service Corporation and the alternate public defender. And as far as the domestic violence program, we still have the ICJR funding, which will last us another 3 years, which we are invoicing all services except the sexual assaults. In addition to that, we have received an approval for additional funding from the Stop 20 program. And as a side note for EJC, payments for EJC billings have been received for the months of March, April, May, and June. We are still waiting for payments from July through September, and the total receivable is at $73,000. And that is all for the financial.
Thank you, Mike. And it's my oversight. We have Dr. Dolores Lee and Mayor Jesse Alec, who was with us as the advisory members of the Elder Justice Center. I'd just like to recognize and thank you for your interest and assistance. And if you have any comments, there was an oversight on my part to recognize everyone on the screen here. Dr. Lee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Justice. And I just want to thank everyone's, kind consideration for the Elder Justice Center. They are providing a very valuable service to our community, particularly our Manamco and their families. And we really appreciate your consideration and support. So thank you so much.
And thank you for your interest and your time in helping out. Any questions for Mike Moreno, our controller? There being no questions, we're going to move on to the report from our executive director, Mr. Steve Vittori. Steve, do you have anything that you would like to report to the board?
Well, Your Honor, first I want to thank the board for the support for the EJC, and I also want to thank Ms. Seguenza. Obviously wouldn't have been able to take off without her hard work and the incredible advisory council that she was able to create. And so, I mean, we really will do everything we can to help EJC grow. I'd also like to thank Senator Shelton, if she is present as well. It's pretty clear that there is a lot of support for the program, and we really appreciate the board for allowing us to pursue this endeavor. And, we'll keep praying for them. I mean, the work we've been doing is pretty amazing so far, and it's quite emotional work. And so we're glad that we're able to continue. As far as the Public Defender Service Corporation, we'll present our numbers for the fiscal year at the next meeting. We do have one opening for an attorney. We lost an attorney to Guam Waterworks, of all places. And but we wish her well. Therese Roas did leave, and so there is one vacancy that we're probably looking to fill. And if not, we'll hold on to it till we have one of our younger, there are a lot of attorneys coming back to Guam, set to take the bar in February. So one of them will be able to pick up. But other than that, I think, the office is doing really well. The staff has been incredible working throughout the pandemic. We've exercised social distancing within the office. Nobody's allowed to eat in the conference room. We've had positive cases that have not been linked to transmission within the office. So we think we're doing the right thing. And so, we're just all hanging in there, and thanks for all your support. And nothing else to add.
Thank you, Steve. And I also would like to acknowledge your perseverance in confronting various obstacles of the Elder Justice Center, and you continuing to have faith in the cause, and I recognize your energy and your perseverance in this regard, and also want to thank you for that. And so I'd like to then move to the next item and the report of APD Managing Attorney, Attorney Anne Marie Gale.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to report on our numbers at the next board meeting because our books will close by then for the fiscal year. And so I just wanted to, and I'll report on the Sixth Amendment, BJA Sixth Amendment. So I don't have anything else. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Annie. All right. Is there, okay. And we've completed our agenda under all business. Is there any questions or comments from members of the trustees in reference to any of the items? We don't have any items under new business, and we do not have any matter in it to be discussed in executive session. I note that the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 26th, and that's our regular October board meeting. So we have completed the discussion of all of our agenda items. I want to thank everyone for their time and effort, and I really appreciate the advisory committee members of the Elder Justice Center for taking the time to participate, and on behalf of the board, we thank you for you volunteering to assist in this very important endeavor. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn to October 26th.
Is there a
Second.
Seconded.
There being no objection, the motion duly passes, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and have a good and safe day.